audience. Uh, India Meteorological Department since very soon after the Second World War II is very much engaged in the building and strengthening the capacity in the field of weather and climate services. And for that, India Meteorological Department, for the building and strengthening of the capacity of the people who are directly engaged in the meteorological or climatological service, India Meteorological Department organizes throughout the year different durations routine training programs for the professionals. However, since last couple of years, after we got our new DGM sir, uh, as per his guidance and his desire, able guidance, now India Meteorological Department is also engaged in the building and developing the capacity of the community. And towards this direction, what we try to do, every month we try to organize YouTube lecture series on different important topics on this allied field by the renowned scientists in a very non-technical language for all the people. So today we are very much happy. We have Dr. Ramana Murthy sir, and we all are very much aware that monsoon is coming, and we all know vagaries of Indians monsoon rainfall. At many places we get very heavy rainfall, and due to and many places it causes floods also. It is a very typical problem in the cities, metro cities, which we call it urban flooding. So now Dr. Ramanamurthy sir, he is an expert in this field. He has recently successfully launched one project for the urban flood warning system for the two metro city. So I sometimes back I had the opportunity to interact with him physically, and I am a very selfish person, rather opportunist person. Immediately I took the opportunity of exploiting his expertise. Immediately I told, just sir, your this knowledge, why it will be shared only the expert people, why not it cannot be shared with the common people? And he is so kind hearted and generous. He immediately accepted and he told, okay, on 23rd we will do. And today we are having Ramanamurthy sir. I will just go read a few lines about Dr. Ramanamurthy sir. Dr. M.V. Ramanamurthy, he is currently mission director of Government of India's Deep Ocean Mission. He is a doctorate from IIT Chennai and masters in planning. He was involved in many. He is a specialist in infrastructure project, desalination, coastal zone management, coastal hazards like tsunami, storm surge, urban floods, marine pollution, flood warning system, and offshore wind. 30 years he is having experience in the ocean technology and coastal research. He has successfully demonstrated many societal-oriented projects such as establishment of desalination plants in Union Territory at Lakshadweep, coastal protection, beach restoration at Pondicherry and Kadalur, urban flood warning system, which is popularly known as iFlow for Mumbai and Chennai, then monitoring health of coastal waters as part of the SDG 14. His recent projects includes preparation of the detailed project report for the Kalpsa Dam with Government of Gujarat to create a largest freshwater reservoir and integrated ocean management initiative for development of framework for blue economy to be implemented by the Government of India, which we are very frequently listening nowadays. Recent assignment include development of marine spatial plans for ecologically sensitive area of Lakshadweep Island for holistic development and Pondicherry, an urban city along southeast coast of India. Other areas of work include development of ICGM, soil line management plans, feasibility studies for offshore wind, technical services to central and state governments, industry with more than 100 plus projects, 80 publications. He is the AICT INAA Distinguished Visiting Professor under the scheme and member of many technical and policy formulation committees and member of Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change as expert appraisal committee for infrastructure and CRZ project. Recent international collaboration include India Pacific Ocean Initiative for Marine Ecology Pillar with Australia, coastal protection with Vietnam, sea level change and marine litter with Jamstek, and establishment of coastal research facility at Fiji. And I am very glad to inform that he is the recipient of very prestigious Ocean Technology Award of 2021. As such, I am a too small person to say about the contribution of Ramana Murthy sir towards the nation. Even I try to cover as much as possible with this small introduction. Now I request Ramanathan sir to give his today's talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Somnath, for this introduction and then kind words and then your support in asking this particular lecture to be delivered to the meteorologist, especially for the various communities. In fact, when I met Dr. Somnath, he was telling me we should share our experience to the wider community on this iFLOWS. And that's how I'm here. And then first of all, I thank from my heart for your support and then calling me for this important lecture. And then it is really good to work with meteorologists because I started working for last 5 years on the meteorologists. They play a very important role in climate change. In fact, we have been noticing many flooding like Mumbai or Delhi. Once it happens, it becomes havoc. How do we handle the situation? Not only warning, but also how do we prepare ourselves for these events which are going to be more frequent in the future. So with these words, once again, I thank this center for providing this opportunity. I will share my presentation. Is it visible, Dr. Sana? Is it visible?
No, sir. No, sir.
Till now, no.
Oh. Now is it okay?
Yes, it is visible now.
So thank you. I think the first slide which I am going to talk, I think is about iFLOWS. This name has come from the acronym Integrated Flood Warning System. In fact, I should say acknowledge here that all the MOS institutes have an equal contribution of developing this iFLOWS. So we have Intermeteorological Department on the forefront, National Center for Medium Weather Range Forecast, and then Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology. Through 3 atmospheric institutes, they are part of this in each and every component which they are doing it for that. So what I am going to present is on the behalf of all the institutes. Many people have worked in this iFLOWS to translate the research to the society. In fact, this is one of the successful product of Ministry of Earth Sciences to the committee. With this, I thank all my colleagues from IMD, NCCR&P, IITM, and also as well as INCOIS, Indian National Center for Ocean Information System. They also provide storm surge advisories to the IMD, which you may be seeing whenever we get the cyclone, it is done from there. So when we look at the global scenario, as per that United Nations report, we have 7,000 extreme events and 2,000 with sharp rise in the floods in the droughts globally. These are all the some of the 2 graphs which shows about over a period of time, especially from 1970 or 1980 onwards. There is accelerated increase on the disasters which we see across the globe. Is same being the case for the India as well. The global rainfall data for last century suggests that there is a intense rainfall which occurs in a short duration. That's what it makes it more complex. Earlier, this rainfall used to be distributed over a period of time. The quantum of rainfall remains same, but the intensity and then the duration, which makes a lot of difference for that. So there is a strong link between the global warming and then numerous natural disasters which have been experiencing over a period of time. If you look at this particular graph, the left-hand side graph was come from IMD and IITM Pune, which shows the rainfall events almost like continuously increasing over a period of time. That's why we see floods in many places. On the right hand side, when you look at event in Mumbai in 2020, if you see the amount of rainfall 40 centimeters, which is occurring in a short duration, that's why city doesn't have a capacity to evacuate this floodwaters into the ocean. And there are other things which will come in the subsequent place for that. Basically, what is going to cause major challenges for us is precipitation of high intensity in short duration. This is the graph which is from the measured data from the rain gauge data, which at Mumbai, I think by IMD and IITM Pune have set up many rain gauge stations along with Mumbai Municipal Corporation. These data shows clearly that intensity of the rainfall which is occurring in the short duration. When we look at the change in climatic conditions in India, if you see the floods, though we started with the Chennai floods, but we have a Kerala flood and then Mumbai flood and many places across the globe, either it is in the floods in the Himalayas or what we are going to happen for that. But each and every flood got a distinct characteristics in terms of flooding and then the damage which is going to cause for the some of these urban cities as well as rural cities for that. How we started this is if you go back and look at Netherlands, which is 6 meters below the sea level, then they started learning how to live with this sea conditions, which is going to inundate on that area when you live below the water level for that. The similar way we are located in Chennai. When we had a flood in 2015, Chennai is not prepared for the flood. You can see on the left hand side, entire airport was completely flooded, and then many areas along the Chennai were flooded and then all the buildings were drowned. In fact, there is a huge loss to the people as well as infrastructure in the Chennai. But one of the major cause which is for that is one is high precipitation, and also they don't have a proper regulatory mechanism. Some of the lakes which discharge the water into the normal thing. So when really we need to evacuate this water, because suppose if you evacuate the water or you release the water, you don't have a fresh water for the remaining period. But suppose if you keep it and then release at last minute, what is going to cause to you is only the flooding. So that's what has happened for the one of the lake called Chembramakam in Chennai, which has released the water and then many areas got flooded. In fact, some of the hospitals which are supposed to provide a service to these kind of victims, they are also flooded, and then the hospitals along these floodplain areas are not operational due to the flooding which was caused by the Chennai flood. So what we did after that is that entire flooding areas were mapped along the Chennai. This is as out of our interest, we mapped it, but we never know that we will be get involved for the development of flood warning system for that. It was a first exercise which we did immediately after the flood, and then that particular time, Principal Scientific Advisor to Government of India has launched a program called Flood Warning System, where IIT Mumbai under leadership of Dr. Submal Ghosh, they were working on that. That particular time, Minister of Earth Sciences decided that since this particular NCCR is involved in this, they should also be roped in and then see how we can make a flood warning system for that. So that particular time, we have MOS institution, IIT Mumbai, IIT Chennai, and then many other institutes in the Chennai have worked together. But the background information on the field was provided by the National Center for Coastal Research. That's how we are into the Chennai flood warning system. That particular time, the initial time it was called as a CFLOWS. The term CFLOWS was Chennai flooding warning system. But later on, when we moved to Mumbai, we made it as an integrated flood warning system, because the reason for making it as integrated flood warning system is earlier it was applicable only to the coastal cities, but now we can use this flood warning system even landlocked areas like Bangalore or Delhi or even many other areas, whatever it is there for that. So what we have made is a modular structure which makes it more amenable for the any city which need to be done for that. When we did for Mumbai, there was a request from government of Maharashtra to do it in Pune and other places where Dr. Hosalikar was actively involved in that, and then we could able to do for other areas, but still it is in the progress for that. This is about the Kerala, and then Kerala we have another situation of many dams on the upstream side. Some of the dam regulation, it is not that to blame this person or that person, because it is basically to understand how do we do that. We may say simply that Kerala has not taken any care on that. It is not as simple as that. If you want to take a decision for that particular event, you need to have a proper decision support system available with you. So that is what is lacking for that. It is not the individual problem, it is the problem of information to be available for the public or even for the operators which we are going to operate for that. So Kerala flood is a learning experience for us. What kind of information is required if you want to really mitigate from the flooding in the some of these floodplain areas, what we have for that, which is common for any of the rivers which are there along the Indian coast for that. So with that, we started this flood warning system to basically to tackle the extreme precipitation which occurs in upstream catchment as well as in the urban areas for that. We have many mega cities in India, metro cities. I think almost all the metro cities have already experienced the flooding, either it is Chennai or Mumbai or Delhi or Bangalore to that extent. But Calcutta is not that severe, but I think it is going to have a future same kind of issue to the Calcutta also. That's how I was discussing with Dr. Sonar what to be done for the Calcutta when we do for the flood warning system for the. We already had a initial interaction with Calcutta Municipal Corporation for that. So one of the beauty of this flood warning system is not what the central ministries develop that. We have active involvement of the state government. In case of Mumbai, we have Mumbai Municipal Corporation. In case of Chennai, the Disaster Management Institute. And same thing in case of Calcutta, we have a Calcutta Municipal Corporation is also part of that. So that ultimate product from IMD, it goes to the state government or municipal corporation for that. So when we look at the disaster, we call it classified as hazard, exposure, vulnerability, and then finally risk. These are all the important terminologies which we need to understand. Hazard is nothing but I think I was just comparing this one with COVID, what we had to have. If you don't know about that, what kind of hazard which you are going to get for that, that classification of hazard is very important. And then how many people or infrastructure is going to be exposed to this kind of hazard and vulnerability. Vulnerability is nothing but it represents the society and the full structure to be affected by the hazard. And finally, the risk, probability of damage which is going to cause, and then the risk is estimated further. What do we need for the COVID is we do vaccination, but in case of hazards of flood and all, we need to have an adaptive capacity within the system to tackle such kind of events when we get the disasters for that. That's how this early warning system has become an essential need in view of climate change and adaptability for the climate change. What are the factors which are contributing to the floods? If you look at that unchecked growth in the floodplain area, many of the floodplain we are occupying because our land requirement is very huge, and then we started acquiring many of the floodplains for that. Another important problem is the choked drains. Most of the drainage network are choked, and also the drainage is not really designed for this kind of high rainfall. Earlier, now we have only 10 centimeter rainfall. Suppose if we are having a 40 centimeter rainfall to be drained in 2 days, our drainage network is not sufficient to empty to drain. Though I have a flood warning system, if I don't have a proper drainage network, we are not going to drain the water into the sea. So what need to be done is how do we drain this water which occurs in a short duration? Whenever we go to the coastal cities, you have a seaside, it is called as a tide. Tide is nothing but every 6 hours there is a rise and fall of the water level from the sea. If you have a rise in the water level in the sea, at that particular time, if you have a high flood, water will not drain into the sea, then you have more flooding on that. That means Mumbai, Chennai, and many of the places, if the water is not drained due to high tide, and you will have more flooding on that. So what need to be done? How do we manage this flood situation in case of coastal cities? That also need to be assessed further. Also, it is very important one is social, political, and economical and ecological conditions and technical aspects which play a very important role when we design such kind of systems for any city for that. And then what kind of policies we have, what is the strategy we have, how much of investment we need to do for the to tackle such kind of situation for that. It is easy to say that I need to have foolproof system for that. How much it is going to cost and what is the returns which we are going to get out of that? How do we manage these funds for that? These are all some of the challenges which need to be addressed when we want to develop a flood warning system or climate resilient cities for the future in terms of investment, what we are going to do. We learned lessons from the Chennai. We have 1969 onwards started compiling and then seeing. Initially, if you see the rainfall is only 25 centimeter, But when we see in 2015, it is 33 centimeters. But when we see in the low pressure, which occurred in December 1st in the same year, it was almost like 40 centimeters. If you see on the both the sides, Chennai flood, how airport is completely flooded, and then you can see aircraft on the background on the left-hand side, which was flooded during the Chennai floods for that. And the entire airport was not operational for 3 days. But unfortunately, when we start looking at that, it is not completely on the floodplain, but Chennai's airport is also very nearer to the floodplain of river called Nadayar. So we have to be very careful when we have some of our major infrastructure facilities adjacent to the floodplains, and how do we address these things if you want to have such kind of extreme events in the future for that. So what we try to learn from there is try to capture the various infrastructure facilities. Most important information which is required for the flood forecasting is elevation of the entire city. How much it is above the mean sea level. If there is no much difference in between the sea and then land, then you have a serious problem for that. And river cross sections. Most of the data is not available readily. We need to obtain this data when we want to develop a flood warning system for that. The essential component of this flood warning system is meteorological data, precipitation. How accurately we predict the precipitation data. I'll come back in my subsequent slides. Though IMD has improved its network of AWS and then Doppler weather radar and then X-band radars at many places, but still, if you want to populate this data along the entire coastline or entire country, which involves a huge expenditure, but we are doing in stages to upgrade this observational network. How good is our observation? That good is our predictions for the precipitation, what we are going to get. It is easy to say that this forecast is not good, this forecast is not meeting the requirement for that. What is important to understand is the forecast will become good if you have a good observational data. To have a good observation data, what you need is a lot of investment for that. For that, we need to pump in money into that and then get such kind of observation data which is required for the forecast. Similarly, and the same thing on the ocean state. If you want to have a good data on the ocean state, you need to have good numerical models. We should be supported by the observations which are collected at the seaside as well. So we try to see this model and then estimate along the entire Chennai area and try to map and then see what are all the areas which have already flooded, and then is there any way we can set up these numerical models to predict the floods along that area? Since we have a very good data on the Chennai, so we could able to set this numerical model more accurately and precisely for the Chennai. That's how Chennai flood warning system was developed for that. When we talk about this numerical model, what it can do? First of all, the inundation due to the rainfall, river bank breach. That means whenever there is a breach of river banks, how the flood is going to come on to the adjacent areas. Storm surge, which is coming from the sea. Whenever there is a cyclone, there is a rise in the water level in the sea. That will have a direct implications on the land whenever there is a rainfall which is coming from the land, as well as this cyclone storm surge which is coming from the sea. That combined effect can create a havoc in the coastal cities whenever we have a rainfall which is associated with the cyclone as well as storm surge. And obstruction to the flow by the railways and road. Most of the places we'll start expanding our city and then puts roads and railway lines across the city, and then we don't know how the drainage network is being affected by this kind of new developments which are going to take further. And other one is on the impact of tides. The tide is nothing but rise in the water level in the sea, how it affects the river and adjoining areas. So what we need to do for a model results for flood warning is river training and suitable measures to reduce the flooding. This I am telling about not other than flood warning, what we can do to make the city prepare ourselves from the flooding. Improvement in the stormwater drainage in the system for the city and locations of the pumping stations. So in case if we cannot drain by natural gravity, we need to have some pumping station to be established, especially cities like Chennai, Mumbai, also in Calcutta. We need to have a pumping stations to drain the water. Otherwise, what will happen is you have a flooding in that area for the longer duration for that. The only way to get relief from this flood is only to have pumping station if it cannot be drained in normal way. And operation of log gates for the lakes as well as dams, that should be done a priori, and then have a information should be available for that. Similarly, impact of sea level rise now due to the global climatic change, the sea level is also going to rise. That may have a direct implications on the flooding along the coastal cities, whatever we are going to have further. With this background of Chennai flood warning system, we started working on the Mumbai, and it is a metropolitan city, and it is almost like a what we call it as island city. This is also just 1 meter above the mean sea level. It's not so significant. That is why we get a lot of floods in the island city of Mumbai. Whenever there is a flood, in past the intensity was spread across the month, so you never has to have flood, and the flood water is to be drained safely into the sea. Since we have a huge drainage network, huge development, and also the high intensity of the flood, Mumbai is also getting flooded due to this kind of intense rainfall. So that's how we started setting up this flood warning system for Mumbai. It is called as iFLOWS, Integrated Flow Flood Warning System, and it was done a joint effort of Ministry of Earth Sciences with many MOS institutions like which I mentioned earlier, Internal Meteorological Department, National Center for Medium Weather and Forecast, and then Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology. Most importantly, MCGM, Mumbai Municipal Corporation, which plays an important role in the flood warning system which was developed for. In fact, they are the people who was really tell us what to be done and how to be tackled for that. Unless we go and then sit with them, it is very difficult to develop a flood warning system which is to be workable for that. I may develop the flood warning system. If it is not workable, there is no meaning for that. That can be achieved only by the support of local administration and government for that. IMD Mumbai was the nodal agency for implementing this flood warning system. Maybe in Calcutta, once it gets that Calcutta, IMD Calcutta will take a load and then will be there on the back end to support IMD in Calcutta for that. This is basically expert system designed for the flood forecasting along the flood inundation maps, and we also provide directives for flood management to the disaster management, not only during the flooding, but also how do we improve the infrastructure or drainage network if you want to tackle such kind of situations in the future further. iFLOWS provides all the information regarding possible flood prone areas, likely height and flood water that could attain. That means how much of water it can accumulate if you have a precipitation of 20 centimeter or 40 centimeter. And location-wise problem areas across the 24 wards in Mumbai, and calculate the vulnerability and risk elements exposed to the flood. And finally, a decision support system mechanism for disaster manager to take a quick action on that. In case some of these hospitals are getting into the flooding of this particular system, what to be done? One is in terms of warning, and second one, how to manage the drainage network in this particular area if you want to mitigate this kind of flooding for that. This flood warning system was developed as a modular framework, as I explained earlier. Originally, we did for the coastal cities, but now it can be operated for the any city, even if it is landlocked cities like Patna or Delhi or Bangalore for that. It consists of various modules. First module is about the data assimilation module, where you have meteorological data. Hydrological data is nothing but the precipitation which is coming from the upstream catchment. Thematic layers. Thematic layers is nothing but all the infrastructure layers which is there in the city has been integrated into that. Second one is a flood module. It got a three type of numerical models which comes into the system. One is hydrological model, where meteorologist and then hydrologist, they combine together and then develop a model from the catchment, how much of water which accumulates in the catchment and comes to the river system. Second one is hydraulic model. Once you have water into the river, how it moves in the along the river and then floodplain areas, that is what has been captured by the hydraulic model. And third one is about hydrodynamic model. Hydrodynamic model is more relevant for the when we have a coastal cities. Otherwise, if it is a landlocked city, we have hydrological model and hydraulic model, and also on the flood inundation model from the urban. We stop at that stage. But suppose if you go to the coastal area, then you have hydrodynamic model built into the system, where sea influence is also captured into the system. Then third one is inundation module. We have historical maps, model based forecast scenarios, near real-time flood maps. Even right now, the flood warning system is working on the almost on the near real-time forecast for the precipitation and inundation areas. For the vulnerability module is basically to assess the extent of damage exposed in terms of physical, socio-economic, and ecological vulnerability of the each and urban area. Risk module is basically risk matrix which covers about hazard and vulnerability. And finally, most important one is dissemination module. This is what is called as the last mile connectivity. Once we have all this information system, how do we disseminate to the various stakeholders and users for that. So we have developed this particular applications which can go up to the public in a short duration with various systems to the disaster management as well as from the control center in the IMD both in Mumbai as well as in the Chennai. Module 1, which talks about the data, which is a huge data on the population, socioeconomic data, hydrodynamic data, which is coming from the sea, hydrological data about the water level, rating curve, and flood routing curves from the CWC and other things are also incorporated in that. Most importantly, when you start modeling on that, you need to have information related to the channel, reservoir, and diversion of hydraulic data. Most important one which is coming from the meteorological data is we have a model forecast from the National Center for Medium Weather Range Forecast, GFS model from the IMD, and WRF model from the IMD. All these things are all incorporated in the system. When they do forecasting for that, they analyze all these products and then see what best can be used for the forecasting the system for that. So forecaster plays an important role for that. Last one is the spatial data, which is talks about the elevation. Elevation is nothing but the contour of the particular area. When we started going on the river as well as sea, we need to have bathymeter data. This is nothing but a depth of the water, which we are going to have it on the system for that. Land use, land cover, soil characteristics, which is very important whenever we do the flood forecasting for that, how much of moisture is being absorbed by the soil for that, river cross section, infrastructure, and then physiographic data sets, which is there for that. When we do the data manipulation with respect to the elevation and river bathymetry, because each data is having a different kind of datums. What do you mean by datum is the reference level, what has been taken for the sea, what is taken for the land, both are different. Unless we bring in all the data to a common platform, we will not be in a position to forecast our flooding accurately for that. That's what we noticed from the Mumbai. What we did is all the data was collected and try to see and then keep this data to the uniform data with respect to the mean sea level, so that whatever we predict from the sea or from the land or even from the hydrological data, which is having a same reference datum, so that you have a proper flooding scenarios which is forecasted for that. This is one of the critical components and then of the system what we need to do. Many times what we may say is no, my forecast is not good, my flooding is not good. But why does it happen? It happens because you have uncertainty in the datum of the data which is collected from the various sources. It is not possible to collect the data by one agency. When multiple agencies collect the data, you need to bring it into the standard platform. How do we do that? Then coming to the meteorological data, most of the places we have AWS and Doppler radar for that, but lot more to be improved for that. I should say that Mumbai is blessed with a good amount of data, which is by Musul Corporation as well as Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, of course, also from IMD. We are all together, and then there is a dense network of meteorological stations. That's how you have a better forecast in Mumbai compared to the Chennai. But Chennai is also slowly being upgraded to the new system with a dense network of observation on that. When we come to the numerical model, this numerical model will function well, and over a period of time, NCCR&P has evolved a lot of improvement in the numerical model, right from the 12-kilometer grid to the 4-kilometer grid. But right now, we have a better prediction of extreme events. So, but of course, there is always a limitation when you have a low intensity rainfall was not captured properly, but extreme ones are captured pretty good thanks to NCCR&WF. I think the team from the director and then Raghavendra Rashid, who works on this income model, and then of course I am telling about Rashid, but there are many other people working behind him to work on this income model for them. He also validates this particular model for Mumbai and Chennai. Whenever we get the flood, we have a group from IMD and then National Center for Medium Weather Range Forecast to see whatever forecast which are we giving, whether it is matching or why it is not matching. How do we improve this numerical model for the future? This shows about the various grids which were taken for the income model and then how it has going into the flood warning system for that. Once we have this data, we assimilate into the flood warning system and then try to get that. When we come to the flood module, which is heart of the entire flood inundation, we have basically three numerical model which runs on the system for that. Precipitation module, where we have rainfall and weather parameters, which comes from the IMD and SEMA development IITM for forecasting for 12 hours. But we're also trying to look at nowcast for the 3 to 6 hours more accurately. But when we see forecast, always, if there is a small error in the precipitation, you are likely to get a difference in the estimates of the flooding along the total areas for that. But if you would use a nowcasting, we are already attempting for the nowcasting using the rain gauge network as well as radar network to see a accurate prediction up to 80% in nowcast mode of 3 to 6 hours for that. We already started this work, and then hopefully if this becomes, and then there will be a good confidence from the all the municipal corporation in terms of accurate prediction for them. When we come to the inundation module, as I mentioned earlier, upstream hydrology is very important, where soil characteristics and then catchment topography and then extra all the details will be taken up. Once we come to the river, we will have a river cross section. Once we come to the final stage in the urban area, stormwater drain is also kept in the system, so that we have a urban flood modeling module which talks about upstream hydrology, river flood, stormwater, and then finally we have urban flood which is taken to that. Once we have a seaside in the coastal areas, we have ocean hydrodynamic model and then storm surge which is built into the system for that. If it is on the landlocked areas, this particular hydrodynamic model and storm surge will not be there. Other modules only will be there, and then we try to put that. Once we have this model is run on that, then we have inundation model, forecast and nowcast for the exposure analysis, vulnerability risk, and then we try to issue the alert from there. This shows the typical cartoon how we do for that. When there is a rainfall in the upstream catchment, it collects the water, and then along the river it comes to the urban area. So we start our first level of modeling from the upstream hydrology. Then we come to the river flood, which is taken into the river cross section, and finally you come to the urban area where topography, stormwater drain, and pumping stations plays important role. And finally, when you have a sea, this ocean hydrodynamics comes into the picture. So these are all the specific structure how this modeling module of iFLOWS works for that. We have hydrology, riverline flood, urban flood, and ocean hydrodynamics. These are all the modular structure. Whatever you want to modify or you can change that, everything can be changed in a system, how it gets operated for that. Dr. Somnath, if you feel that time is getting more, so you can tell me anything according to that. Maybe I'm in the off away.
Keep it up, sir. You can keep it up. Keep it
Okay,
up.
fine. Thank you. These are all the complex equations. If some researchers would like to learn more about how do we model these kind of things, but these are all the standard equations which use it for the hydrodynamic, both hydrology as well as hydrodynamic for that. But we simplify this equation for the flood warning. If you see here, when we start modeling the river, you can see the rise and fall of the water level, how it is going to inundate in our areas. Since we are handling with a larger domain, you need to integrate one-dimensional model and two-dimensional model as a part of the system to run that in near real time for that. This is the huge exercise we did for the Mumbai and Chennai in terms of simulating these conditions and then go and validate this particular information at the site level for that. Then once we saw the data flow of that, first we have a meteorological data coming from the catchment, hydrological modeling, where we have 1D model, and then once we come to the river, we do hydraulic modeling, where 1D and 2D hydrodynamic model comes into that. Once if the C module is there, then you have a hydrodynamic model for that. Finally, we have a spatial and temporal variation of water level and discharge as a output from the iFLOWS, how it comes, and then evaluate the flood and inundation, and then you have a inundation forecast for 6 to 72 hours, nowcast for 3 to 6 hours, and then you have a decision support system which will tell us in various ways. One is web domain, mobile alert, and local administration and stakeholder. All these things have been automated and which can be directly go to the administrators and public, whatever it is done for that. This is the dashboard which shows about how the data has been disseminated to the in various. This is basically goes from the BMC as well as IMD, whatever it is there for the system for that. But through IMD, it goes to the municipal corporation to the stakeholders for that. But when we look at inundation module, it works in the 3 levels. First level, what we do is whenever we develop for new cities, unless this complex model is developed, first exercise what we do is a level 1, ready reckoner for inundation maps. Based on the past data, all the information has been compiled and then it will be given to the administrator. If you have 10 centimeter, what are all the areas which are going to be inundated? If it is 20 centimeter, what are all the areas which are likely to be inundated? If it is 30 centimeter, and then what kind of complexity which you get at that first level. This is basically a compilation of the data from the past. Second level, we do on the flood forecast map based on the NCMR develop and IMD value, but Of course, there is always a small difference in the resolution which we'll tell in the 3 days in advance. But once we come to the level 3, this is almost like a high level information which goes to the public on the level 3 near real-time inundation maps based on the field data which is collected both in the municipal corporation on that. So what we do for any city when we develop the first flood, this flood warning system for that, we start with level 1, go to the level 2 and go to the level 3. It doesn't mean that we don't have a capacity on that. Depending on the information, we start at the level 1, go to the, once the information is populated, you go to the level 2, and then once more information is there, you go to the level 3 and then near real time what we are going to get for that. This shows about the data which we use on meteorology data and all those things which I told about NCCR model 10 days forecast and GFS WRF, which you all know because I'm not the expert on this WRF model, but I understand what it comes from there and then how it goes for that. Same thing, meteorology should also understand what it works on the flood and inundation model for the other side for that. This shows about the NCOM model, how it has been validated, and then how do we bring it into the graphical environment in terms of predictions, what we do on the precipitation. Once we have this module, there is a module 4 and module 5, which talks about the vulnerability and risk, which I explained earlier, to incorporate the infrastructure and then local socioeconomic characteristics in the system. And finally, you have a risk index, which is ready for the system. Once we have that information, we can provide the warning at individual ward level. So we have gone up to that level of individual ward level, and then see here, this is a standard classification which is done by IMD. High, very high, moderate or low, this kind of coding is given for them. Maybe with technology improves and then if it goes in more detailed way, we may be in a position to give flood depth accurately at each and every level depending on the information what we have. For getting that accurate information is the two things which is very important is accurate prediction of precipitation. That is only possible with the more observation data which we have along the any of the area, urban area which is there for that. This shows about the statistics amenities affected due to the flood. Now IMD is coming with impact wet forecast IBF, what we call for that. For that you need to have all this information to be ready. For all the coastal cities, this information has already been populated. If you say any disaster which occurs in urban cities, especially Mumbai, Chennai, and then to a certain extent in Delhi and Calcutta, this information has been populated and you can use it for other disasters as well. This shows about the in case if you want to do at the level 1 for what we have done for Chennai is what wise how much of inundation which we are going to get for that. Based on that, we have prepared a red atlas which will be available with administrator. Without running the model, you have this atlas available with you to see that if I have like a lookup table, if I have 10 centimeter, what are all the areas which are going to flood? Administrator can sit in this desk room and then say these are all the areas people should be more alert for depending upon the extent of rainfall what we are going to get for the various scenarios for that. Once we have this module and then we go for the dissemination which I already explained further, which ward is going to be affected, how much will be the flood depth and what are all the drainage and then where you have to drain the water and then how do you pump the water. That level of information is also being given to the administrator for that. This is infographics of iFLOWS which tells about a very complex system, but we made it very simple for the understanding as well as for the public what we need to do for that. This is almost like a effort by the many MOS institutions to bring it to this shape for that. And then this is the one of the classic project of the Ministry of Earth Sciences to disseminate to the system. And more likely we will have a more such kind of products in the future to the public from the Ministry of Earth Sciences. And then when we look at iFLOWS operation, how it does is, as I mentioned earlier, we had a series of meeting with the Municipal Corporation in Mumbai at various levels and then various stages when we are developing the entire model for that. And then it was done in a record time of 11 months. This shows about some of our colleagues from IMD who have participated in collecting the bathymetric data, river cross-section data in Mumbai. That was done in Corona time. In fact, they were thinking whether this particular system will be operational immediately after the Corona. During the, except one fair period of Corona, we could be able to collect all the data and then it was set up for Mumbai in a record time of 11 months. This shows about the, earlier I was telling about the topographic data. Before the correction, what was there and after correction, what it is there. this entire digital elevation model, what we call as a topography, which comes from the municipal corporation, has been corrected to match for the accurate prediction of flood warning system for the Mumbai. So the data plays a very important role, and how do you correct such expertise available with Ministry of Earth Sciences, with various institutions, and then we could able to accurate. One of the strength of this particular one is we have a very reliable and accurate data for the Mumbai. That's why predictions are all better for that. So when we start establishing this iFLOWS for the Mumbai, we started with CFLOWS, then you have met models, observation data, tide data, probable inundation, everything is available within the system for the Mumbai. This was formally launched by the Honorable Chief Minister and Honorable Minister of Earth Sciences on 12th June 20, a record time of 11 months, and it is operational now. But still, we didn't stop at that, and then we are keep on improving on that. When you look at operational, how it does is we have a data from IMD, IITM, NCMW come to the NCCR, that will be sent to IMD. IMD will analyze this data and then send it to the state government. That's how this architecture has been made, and same architecture can work for any other cities which we are going to operate further. What we are going to get is 5-day forecast on the with color codes, like how you do for the precipitation. Same thing is done for the flood warning as well. We started checking this performance for the monsoon during 2020. How do we match with the whatever has been developed for that? We have two observations. One is at Santa Cruz, and another one is Colaba. This rainfall has been collected from the observation, which is collected from rain data, and start matching with the this system. This is how the forecast has been issued by the IMD, and then start verifying whether it is matching well at the field for that. And then we also have a bulletins from the impact based bulletins, and then flood guidance, which is done at the very much at the ward level. If they are not happy from the municipal corporation, we come back and then revise this thing and then see what best can be done for improving the system for that. This shows about the flood warning which was issued during 6th August 2020 based on impact based forecasting and other areas. Coming to the rainfall validation, because NCMR needs how these models are performing well. Once we forecast that, and that field data is also collected, and then start comparing with the model predictions, and then also to see how where we can improve this numerical model for the accurate predictions in the future for that. This shows about the validation during July 4th and July 5th. There are some places we didn't get a proper match, and then how do we do that? How do we intensify the observation system in that area, and then see this gives a good feedback. It is not that we developed the model, but also check the model how it is performing well at the system for that. These are all the shows about guidance and validation on 4th August and 5th August at the flood points which were collected in the net. So we have an app which will go, we can go to the site and then collect the data and then send it back to the central server using the crowdsourcing. Also the any other public also can collect the data and then send it across to the control station. Slowly we are educating the people both at administration level as well as public to send the data back to us, and then see how do we improve the forecast on the real-time mode if it is to be required accurately be predicted for that. This shows about the reports what we generate across the wards, and then see how it goes for that. And then these are all the some of the media reports which tells about forecast what we did and then what they observed at the Mumbai. And rainfall validation for both global model as well as regional model is a continuous exercise by NCMR develop. We started validating and then improving this data based on the observation and model forecast. And then over a period of time, there is a lot of improvement, and hopefully in the future, we will get a more improvement in the forecast by NCMR developed model for the forecasting the precipitation for that. This is about success of the model validation. There were almost 4 extreme rainfalls above 200 mm was accurately captured in Mumbai, and these models are performing very good at most of the places. But nevertheless, we are continuously upgrade this model and validate and improve this model for the future if you want to improve the more forecast for that. Same thing is done for the GFS model by IMD, where all we are going to get with forecast and then observation. This has also been done at many places. This is done by our colleagues from IMD as well as NCMR develop, and this shows about the validation. Why I am showing all these things is whenever we develop such kind of systems for that, we need to have a good validation to also to be conducted parallelly. Then only the confidence in the corporation and then everything will improve. If your forecast is not good, they won't rely on that, and then Their confidence can be improved only we do this continuous system for that. There is always a saying, developing any warning system is easy, maintaining a warning system is very difficult, because you need to continue these operations in long run, so that you will also get a good knowledge, but at the same time people also get the confidence in that. Ministry of Earth Sciences is known for such kind of exercise, both tsunami warning system in inquest and also this flood warning systems, even other heat wave and all what we are going to project for the future. There is a tremendous improvement in the from the ministry. So what we are going to do for the future scenario and generation of urban infrastructure improvement on that. This is one of the classic analysis which we did for the Mumbai, what we called as the intensity, duration, frequency. Why it is more important is, earlier whatever intensity we used to have less intensity. The intensity has increased. Duration. Earlier we used to have rainfall distributed in the longer duration. Now it has come in the short duration. Frequency. Number of events which occur in the system has increased. That's why this plays a very important role. So use ADF curve for the estimating the return periods for the designing of stormwater network for the Chennai as well as Mumbai. We do this analysis and provide this information to them to improve their drainage network for that. Suppose if you have rainfall in 1 hour, what is the distribution? And if you have rainfall in 24 hours, what is the distribution? But what we need to be careful is, suppose if you are considering a worst case of rainfall in 1 hour, the cost of the infrastructure will be high. But if you take 24 hours, cost is less, but it is not going to be operational. So you need to have strike a balance between those things in terms of return period and how much of investment I would like to make at this stage if you want to improve the drainage network in the many of the cities. This kind of guidance is very important for the urban cities to develop or augment their infrastructure for the future. And CFlows are started with the version 1. Now we have come to the iFlows. Now feature we have a iFlows 3, where now we are going to have a major network of pumping station, and then more fine grid on the model, and then we will have a radar based artificial intelligence and machine learning tools to go for a nowcast system on that. Initially when we started at the lower level, we started and then we improved. I can show you this how we have improved from the 1 to 2 in terms of model, data, observational network, and then finally in terms of numerical model. Once we go to the final stage, we will completely have open source code for the entire system, which can be used by anyone, completely done by the in-house expertise of the Ministry of Earth Sciences by the various organizations for that. This shows about the machine learning, how we are going, but it is on the way. It takes some more time to get into that so that we will have a more accurate nowcast system for the urban flood warning. We are also trying to see the radar data from there and then assimilate radar data and then rain gauge data to have a accurate prediction for the system. But these are all the some of the efforts which we started with the Mumbai radar as well as Chennai, started working with IITM Pune and IMD along with, by NCCR to ensure that accurate predictions are given. And iFLOWS collect data, which is important for Dr. Somnath. Now we already had some information. Now we are going to populate this information and then get similar system to be available for the Calcutta. Now they are already started working on that. But what is more important is we need to have more field data so that you will have a more accurate flood forecasting for that area. I need to understand the drainage network very critically in Calcutta if we want to have a accurate forecast which need to be done for the Calcutta. Future scope, one is we update. I already told about version 2, version 3 and all. We'll keep updating with the information from the ground, information on the precipitation with observation network, improvement in the numerical models, improvement in the dissemination, more importantly, easy to adaptable to the public. What we are going to do for the crowdsourcing is one of the best area where you can involve the public also in your hope operational system, what we are going to operate for that. The benefits I need not have to tell about that, which I already told on the past, how it is going to benefit to the public. But most importantly, we have a huge applause from the media and stakeholders in the Mumbai. In fact, I used to read some of the YouTube videos about UPSC selection, what they are doing for that. First time I know they are also propagating iFlows, how it functions and it has helped us also to improve what best, the more responsibility, and then how do you take it forward further. My concluding report, it is example of a successive collaborative venture of MOS, in fact, involving various stakeholders. That is more important. MOS have joined, institutes have joined together, but also we brought in many stakeholders for impact-based forecasting, both for flooding and disaster management. And it is an excellent example of G2G, government to government, both central and state government, in terms of disseminating the technology, and it was demonstrated in very short duration of 11 months, the record time. iFLOWS will continue to developing and will keep improving with the densification of observational network, further development of forecast and models used, and will further take the feedback from the stakeholders. That is more important. Stakeholders will tell us whatever examination which I have written, I got 30 marks or 40 marks or 60 marks or 100 marks. So I should be, our aim is to get 100 marks from the stakeholders. Then only we can improve that. With these things, I thank you for listening to this presentation. And of course, later on anything is required, we can ask, because it is only a short duration talk, but I'm always helpful, available for anything along with my colleagues to answer questions at now or even in the future, whatever it is. Thank you, Dr. Samnath.
Thank you. Really, it is an excellent talk, sir. And it is a lesson to others, because as WMO also says, that any success story should be shared with the broader community. So, as you told regarding Kolkata, suppose if by chance I get a scope to work in Kolkata, definitely I will be after you to implement a better version for Kolkata. So now there may be maybe a couple of questions. So any series, is there any couple of questions are there? So
question from audience are most welcome. Okay, okay. Oh, no, sir, there is no, they told that excellent presentation, best presentation. There is no question from the audience, sir.
there is no, somebody was telling that he not able to write. Then I told that they can speak.
No, there was no problem because other people have already given excellent presentation. It is
no, that is no, that certificate is not required, because we all know it is. But still, if there is anybody, because there was one comment from Mr. Brahma Jadhav.
Yadav, yes, sir.
He is not
Difficulty
able
to type.
I think he is interested interested to ask or interested to talk, but I don't know.
Maybe, sir, his end, but after that also one Shishir Das have given that excellent presentation. So there was a mistake, problem from his end only, I think.
Maybe. No, that is the very good, because I have also typed from here.
Yes, sir,
I could also type. So really, Ramana Murthy sir, actually I am not the right person to give an appreciating one, except expressing my sincere thanks to you, because as such, I am telling you, in my mind, it was there in 2 years back. I got, but I was not able to get a scope to catch you properly. But it was in that transport only coming from Inquest to Hyderabad airport. There I could capture. And as I told, I am a typical opportunist fellow professionally. Immediately, I took the opportunity of a good relation for the office purpose. So I am very much thankful. So now I request Dr. Sirish Khedikar, Scientist C, to propose a formal vote of thanks. Thank you.
Thank you,
sir. Thank you very much. So it's my pleasure to give today's vote of thanks. We are very lucky that for today's webinar lecture, we got Dr.M.V. RAMANA MURTHY. He is a mission director of Deep Ocean Mission of Ministry of Earth Science as a speaker. And it is my pleasure to thank him. So he has given his talk on iFlow, a success story about flood management in cities. He started his talk with the challenges in flood management and how they learn from Netherlands model, explained his point thoroughly. He explained the importance of information about elevation of location, hydrological data, meteorological data, weather forecast in flood management. In today's lecture on iFlow, we learned about how iFlow model will help in management of flood. His entire lecture was full of information with simple words. I am thanking Dr.M.V. RAMANA MURTHY once again for making today's webinar special by sharing his valuable knowledge. I am also thankful to our Honorable Director General of India Meteorological Department for his support and guidance to this online lecture series. A special thanks to Dr. Somnath Dutta sir, Scientist G and Head Meteorological Training Institute, for planning to pursuing this lecture series. Last but not least, I am thankful to all online participants. Once again, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sam.
Actually, I am going beyond the procedure, because as per procedure, after the vote of thanks, there should not. But in my WhatsApp message, there is a question. Somebody asked, why inland stations like Hyderabad or Bangalore have flood problems? So, can you, sir, respond?
Yes, I think I have already told about this one. This basically when we have this landlocked areas, especially Hyderabad and Bangalore, more than their catchment, their urban area, whatever precipitation which they get in short duration is one of the main reason for the flooding. Second one is, as I told earlier, this drainage network which was designed for the uh, smaller intensity and then longer duration precipitation, which cannot really take care of the precipitation which occurs in the short duration. That's why we get the flooding. So what is the remedy to the this thing which you already mentioned also? We need to augment our drainage network to tackle this kind of. In fact, Chennai has come out with a plan to augment the entire drainage network to take care of 30 to 35 centimeters rainfall, which is going to occur. In fact, sometimes when we review the project for the Chennai flood warning system, we also tell them how do we design your drainage network to take care of this uh, increased precipitation. That is one of the reason why, even if you see in Delhi, I think last time when they had a cloudburst, they had a huge flooding in many of the areas for that. The only way to improve that is we need to improve the drainage network in that area.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, shall I close now, sir?
Yeah,
With your
thank you,
permission.
Ramana Murthy,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Many,
Thank you,
many thanks.
thank you,
Really, it is a very pleasant thing. Thank you, sir.
thank you so much.